to Redlining on this beautiful, wintry summer day. What am I talking about? That sounds like bullshit. How you going there, Rich?
I'm good, mate. Do you know, today I witnessed a miracle.
What?
It took me 20 minutes to get from the shore over the bridge to here in Mount Eden with the pissing rain and the thunderstorm.
During rush hour.
Because
we record all these things at 7 o'clock, so that's good effort.
It is.
Well played.
Yeah.
With us today, across from us, we've got... Are you from Wellington? You're from Wellington, aren't you?
I'm now.
Yeah, you're from Wellington, yeah. All the way from the big Wellington, we've got Eamonn Fevah. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Very good.
Good. How's it going?
Good. I only was touch and go getting here.
I know, because you told me about your flight this morning.
I had to drop two daughters off. They want to go to the gym at 7:15 this morning before school, so I dropped them off. Thought I'd just head beeline for the airport. I was going to go to the gym. Went, I looked at the weather report. Went, there's crap coming in.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine's on the police boats, and he said, if you can get in early. So I rolled in, and because I fly a lot, I've got a membership. So can I get an earlier flight? And she went, when do you want it? In 20 minutes or in 45?
It's got to be important just to walk into the airport and go, I don't want to go on this flight. Is there another one?
I like the free breakfast, mate. So it's like, I rolled in, and I tell you what, I think we're 20 minutes from coming in, and the older I get, the worse I get at flying, man. And
really?
we started getting roller coaster stuff, and it was like,
yeah.
Okay, but we got in just as we hit the tarmac, lightning, thunder. So, yeah. But we got here.
Yeah, it's hard living without Koru. I got rid of my Koru during pandemic because it was like, there's no point in having this, obviously.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, I just really want to get it, but it's $1,000 now for a new member.
I went a year ago and booked in advance because I do a lot of travelling up and down with playing as well as work as well. So it made it worthwhile. Plus, I've got 3 kids that quite often fly with us and they eat like horses. So I've got a 19-year-old that tries to eat out of the house and home when you go to the airport. And we all know how expensive airport food is. That's my justification for having it.
Also, you get a free bag. It is worth it because you get like a good feed.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling pucky, you can get there really early, have a shower because some of them have showers in them.
Yeah.
And you get that extra bag. And that extra bag's $30. I think if you go enough, it pays yourself off.
Yeah. When you've got 2 daughters that like to overpack.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And there you go. Air New Zealand, sponsor the show.
There we go.
Anywhere, we just plugged it real hard.
That's the thing about flying is like when you book a flight, well, for us common folk, not you two, obviously, it's like you book a flight, sweet, it's that much. And then you go on to the next stage and you go, would you like to carry a bag on? Well, fuck yeah, because where am I going to put it? Okay, that's another $100. Okay, would you like a meal? Well, yeah, I'm going to be hungry. No, that's another $100. And you're like, you go through all these stages and like your price has doubled. And it's like, it never used to be like that. It used to be, there's the price. You get all this shit included.
And they prided themselves on it too. They did the whole, we're the airline with nothing to hide, no secret hidden fees. And now it's just like, now you've got 4 different tiers of bullshit. Kind of like the VVIP, VVVIP, and VVVIP.
Exactly.
That they seem to be doing now in a lot of gigs.
Festivals. I got suck it. And my wife ended up buying I'm not going to say which one it was. She got the wrong ticket.
Yeah.
And a lot of money later. Oh, did you get those tickets? Which ones did you get? Oh, well, we do drink for fee and apparently eating. Not that you do much eating at festivals.
No. We got again, won't say what it was, but we got VIP tickets, and we didn't get any change out of $300 each, and the queues were still 45 minutes to get drinks.
Oh.
Woo! You know who you are. But
Anyway, so what are you doing in Auckland this time?
Oh, well, it's New Zealand Music Month, and General Lee and I think it's Tammy that does the show with them. I was speaking to him a month ago when I was in Auckland, and I said, any spots? I was trying to get up for last year, and I couldn't, and they've invited me up to George to do. I do the hot set on Thursday, tomorrow morning. Bit of an interview, whatnot. I mean, I've been doing a lot of championing of this really cool and really good music coming out of really, good Kiwi producers at the moment, all styles. So it was a good opportunity for me. I've got a few of my own, and then I'm being able to play a few of others from around the country.
So predominantly your set will be completely consisting of New Zealand artists and stuff.
Yeah, well, it's New Zealand Music Month. I couldn't see the point of not, and we've got so much. Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff.
Cool. All right. So give us, for those who don't know you, I mean, you've been around. You won't mind me saying, but you've been around a bit, right?
Yeah.
So, just give us a kind of where did you start? I've read a bit of your profile today and done a bit of research, and you sort of started in London. Was that right?
I did what most Kiwis do when I'm away. Started in Aussie.
Yeah.
I'm a farmer's son from the South Island originally. Yeah. Used to roll Mars. And then went into the desert in Western Aussie, drove a truck around on a station for about a year.
Yeah.
And I had an ex-girlfriend who said, I'm going to London come over. And I'm like, oh, why not? I had an Irish passport. So back in the 90s, you know, anyone who didn't have a passport had to have X amount of money in the bank to be able to go to the UK.
Yeah.
I went in with £9 in my pocket, had no idea what I was planning on doing.
Yeah.
And I think 6 months later, the first club I ran was the Ministry of Sound.
6 months. Okay, so let me just backtrack here.
Yeah.
Were you into music before you left?
I was a full bogan, mate. Right, I had I was sporting the mullet mullet to go with it. I'd spent the 4 years before I'd left in Ashburton, of all places, the live-in of the South Island.
Yes.
Right. No, I actually had a good time there. Did a lot of growing up, but then came out with a haircut to boot, and then I had no idea what that kind of music was. Right. And like most Kiwis and Aussies and Antipodeans do when they go to the UK, they experiment.
Yeah.
We have fun. I've no doubt my kids are going to watch this, so I'll be careful, but they're not dumb. They're not babies anymore. Yeah. And one thing led to another, and funnily enough, I was at this club in the centre of the joys of London in the 90s, man. There was underground clubs, there was really underground clubs, and there was fields, and it was just when all the raves were coming out of the fields. A good friend of mine, Kirk Field, wrote a book recently, and it talks about, the days of the big outdoor raves, and then when everything came out, police shut them all down, and we turned up post that. Yeah. And
what sort of year was this? Like
96.
96,
yeah. And we went into, we used to go to this club called the Aquarium. Mm-hmm. And the first club we'd go to was the one called Sunnyside Up, which was every Sunday. The Aquarium was on a Sunday too, but it was Sunnyside Up had kind of closed down for a bit. And the Aquarium, it does have swimming pools, and it was the most bizarre thing. There's a bunch of Aussies and Kiwis. We'd go clubbing wearing board shorts. Right, middle of summer, you'd have a singlet on. You'd stomp away in the middle of a dance floor and you'd go and do honky bombs. Right, halfway through if you got too hot. Yeah. And I met my future business partner in the middle of a dance floor. My flatmate said, this is my mate Wayne. We've just met. He's the manager of one of the big Kiwi bars in the middle of Soho. And there's a club that they've got under it. Do you want to do a party? Oh, yeah, okay. Let's have a go. And most Kiwis were part of big houses back then. Yep. We had, I think, 20 in the house I lived in, and we had about 5 others or 10 other houses like that we knew. So the first time we put the word out to all the houses we're having a party, we had 200 people turn up. And that happened every week and every Sunday. So in the end, what we had to do, because it's in the middle of Soho, Soho on a Sunday in the 90s was fairly seedy.
So whereabouts? Because I used to work in Soho from
so the Polar Bear,
96.
Right, the Polar Bear, which is the biggest, it was just up the road from Old Compton Street, right?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so, Sunday, 7 o'clock started, and from 7:30 the place was packed. Yeah. We had to make it membership only because that way you didn't get all the deros. We used to go to this one, the O Bar, which, you picture, I've been to done parties around the world, and the Sunday day club in any city is the seediest place you'll ever go to, but it makes it quite cool. The allure of it is like, what are you going to see? Some of them,
especially around on Compton Street.
Oh, mate, you name it, they were there. Yeah. And then we made it VIP. Well, not VIP. You had to know someone to get in. That way we knew who was going in within reason. Yeah. And about 3 months later, we had to move because the owners of the bar thought we can do that, and they saw how busy it was and kicked us out. And then the story we ended up getting this club called The Tube, which is owned by the same guy and right next to London Astoria, which is now a Eurostar terminal, right? Yep. But it's one of the original clubs.
The London Astoria, that venue,
LA1,
is now
LA2.
a Eurostar.
It's a Eurostar terminal.
Is it in Kings?
No, it's Tottenham Court Road and Oxford Street.
Yeah. Right.
So I saw I've seen some bands, amazing bands.
Oh, mate, best live act I ever went there was Lenny Kravitz live. Yeah. Mate, there was everybody who was anybody. U2 played there, you name it. And it was funny because it turned out that all the bars and clubs that we ended up using were the biggest iconic gay clubs of the time.
They had GAY.
GAY. So it was funny, a couple of Kiwi boys, mate, and the New Zealand and Australia was fairly close-minded back then, and every club we ever used, so like the Tube was about as weird as you could get on any other night of the week, though we saw some bizarre stuff, that have things called shag tags, right? I'm not going to go into what they were, but once the guys who explained to me that ran it, the locals, I went, really? I said, just come down. No, it's okay. I'll take your word for it. Each to their own. Yep. And then through doing that, because we filled it, the owner of the Astoria was one of the original old school underground families. Right. And he said, do you want to use the Astoria? And we got offered it for a bank holiday Sunday. And bank holiday Sundays in the UK are synonymous for big parties.
Yeah.
So we threw one in there, and then as part of that, the friend of ours that originally got us in to do the Ministry of Sound, because we, the go-to magazine for Australasians or Antipodeans back then was TNT magazine. And if you wanted to know anything, it was the Bible for, advertising, for getting a job, for what was on. And he'd originally invited us to do a Christmas, it was like an orphan's Christmas party at the Ministry of Sound. And we packed that out.
Wow.
And then after we did that, then he also invited us in. He got offered to do, there's a big event called Sunday Central, right, which was based in Birmingham and further north as well, I think, and they were trying to come into Wellington. And we got offered to host Heaven, which was owned by Richard Branson. And all of this was happening.
Are you talking about the venue?
Yeah.
Oh, it's one of my favourite ever clubs.
So I ended up running Heaven for 5 years.
Heaven?
Yeah, so every Friday and Saturday night, we filled it. Fridays we ran an event called There, which was 5 rooms.
What year? Are we talking like late 90s?
No, this is 97, 98, 99, 2000,
That's
2001.
So, love that video. So good.
Pete Heller and people like John Fleming used to come down and play. Pete Heller was it was all people like that.
I saw Dig Dish and Digwig.
Mate, I've seen
such a good video.
And every other day of the week it was, because it was the biggest gig venue in the world, right? But those venues were always the best run.
The thing is about that is that, yes, it was a gay venue, but it had such a mixed crowd because it was such a great venue.
Yeah. And the guys who ran it, mate, from the bar staff to everyone, it was an eclectic group of people. And what it is, I think, with so many Australasians and Antipodeans that we'd invite in, we would ask for the resident drag queens to be dressed in full regalia. We'd have a line of 1,000 people waiting to get in. You'd have drag queens having fights out the front. You'd have the resident gimp, right, walk through. Now, it is the funniest. You'd be at the barman and you might have been experimenting on something that your mate that's fresh off the boat, given you, and went, see some gimp walk past. Did I see that? But then you had to deal with the main toilets. So you go to the main toilets in Heaven, and that was the eye opener, because if you were very self-conscious, they had a mirror on an angle. It was quite a big room on an angle all the way around the urinal. So if you were standing in that corner, I could see your cock from that corner. Right? So it was like everything's on show. So it didn't matter how much you tried to hide.
Yeah, it's there.
Me and my mate used to go in. We said we were both going just to like look out for each other.
Oh no!
I think you just wanted to stand at the other end of the urinal to see your cock. I don't know what it is.
I know.
You're the wingman.
But through being able to do those, we pretty much everything steamrolled, because it all from being invited to use Astoria. They all happened within kind of 6 months of each other. Then we were allowed to use, we alternated between doing, like Heaven, we'd have 3,000 to 5,000 people in it. And then the biggest one we did at Astoria was, we had LA1 open, and the owner went, I think you need LA2, mate, too. So we went, all right, have you got DJs? They'll all play again. So they all went into LA2, and we filled that with another 1,500. So, and then it just kept rolling.
Every weekend.
So Fevah started every Sunday night, and it was regularly every Sunday night. And then because we did Heaven, the back end of Heaven, there was another club called the Sound Shaft. Now that was regarded as one of the best clubs, in my opinion, in the world.
That's great.
But it was like everyone from Madonna's favourite. Like we get given them. We ran that every Saturday night for 5 years. So Fevah was Sunday, Fahrenheit was Saturday, and we'd have an awesome time. The sound systems in both of those places were off the hook. They
really were.
While Richard Branson owned Heaven, the gold thing about it was he paid off all the neighbours. This is what we got told, and it stands to make sense.
It's under Charing Cross Station.
Yeah. So you've got flats and everything around you, right? So while he wasn't trying to sell it, he paid off all the neighbours. And so you could pretty much put as much noise, because the sound system in the main room of Heaven was huge. It was a big, like 60K turbo sound system, and back in the day that was state of the art. So it was a big rig. And Fahrenheit's was the same, but we'd have I think it was the club legally held 150. Generally we'd get 500 over the night. right? And it was like our door girls would get given bought a bottle of champagne if we hit 500.
Yeah.
But no, I mean that was. Fire restrictions were like back then. It was like all underground clubs. So, but we did that, and then from that it was like the feeder clubs. Like I think we were the first club in the UK to start running a door list, like when this new thing called email came out. It makes me feel really old. I realised that I had to try and get my mate to learn how do I make an email address? And then I went, everyone's got one of those now. And so we started this first door list at Fahrenheit every Saturday night. Our office actually got robbed for it.
Oh, what?
So we had 5,000 but the funny thing was we knew exactly who did it because there's no one that had a database with my mother's email address on it. So it was fairly obvious straight away what happened. Things ran from there, and we started to expand into music. Like we had a DJ agency, which was pretty hard. That's hard running a DJ agency because DJs are
Who did you have on your books?
Actors. Mainly our London-based artists. Like at the time, there was everyone from Phil Reynolds, Rickster, and Cy Fevah, myself, Matt Clark, all big movers and shakers in London at the time, and it got everyone booked around the world. But that was quite a complicated thing trying to run a DJ agency because everyone thought that they were as good as each other, and if someone got more bookings than the other, it muddied friendship. So we went, we're not going to do that anymore. So we created a record label, and we was better at making music. That way, you put the beats into a vinyl, and that was when vinyl was king. So I got the opportunity, made friends with a guy who owned a big distribution company. Also owned a record pressing plant, and he just went. He came to a party one night. He said, "You want to make some tunes?" I'm like, "Yeah, all right." So we started, and then we ended up creating 2 record labels, and then that kind of paved the way for us to start Fevah going into different countries and cities. Right. So I think we've actually done events, something like 15, 20 cities around the world, 10 different countries over the course of the last, since 97, really.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It was awesome, mate. I've made so many friends over the years, and it's made so many connections. I've been very blessed. It paid for me to fly around the world and have a good time for 10 years.
And you're still doing it, to be fair.
Well, I took a wee bit of a hiatus when my kids came on the scene. We came home. I got married to my lovely wife, Hannah, in 2001. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then,
did you meet her in?
Yeah, funnily enough, though, I always said I would never marry someone I met in a club. The whole he-love thing. I was like, nothing against it, but it was just not me. So she actually met me chasing someone around a pool table at the Spotted Dog in Willesden Green. She thought, he's a fuckwit. Right. So I had to work on it.
For me.
Oh, mate, she ended up stuck with me at Glastonbury after 3 days, covered in mud, looking like an Andrew dwarf. And me and her, we lost everybody. And apparently I was just she's like, I could be stuck with anyone else in the world but you. But then 26 years later, mate, 3 kids, So we took a break. My son Reuben was born in 2005. Funnily enough, his birthday's 9/11. Not the actual day, but we'll never forget that one.
Right, yeah.
Maddie in 07 and Kitty in 09. And then while they were young and babies, I took a bit of time out. We kept doing Fevah parties, but just random ones in New Zealand. Yeah. Just to keep finger on the pulse and whatnot. And then a couple of years ago, wife said to me, "You love it, don't you?" I went, "Yeah." And I said, "The kids are older now. I've got one's gone off to uni now. He's bless him, doing a law degree. I don't know where that came from, based off what I've done for 25 years, but, good on him. And she said, "Why don't you have another nudge?" Because a couple of mates I'd met, Craig G, who's lost knowledge in Wellington. I met him early on when I came home, and a good friend of ours introduced, and he was engineering, and he said, "You guys should make friends and make some music." And we did loads of music, but back then mastering was so expensive to get done. Digital tech wasn't up to where it was, and then we all had another kid each. He got married, and we didn't talk to each other. Well, we went to each other's weddings, but then everyone got busy with kids, families and whatnot, as they do. And then we decided, we ran into each other and said, "Oh, have you got time?" "Yeah." So we went into the studio and we pulled up. He's a proper techno specialist, and technical specialist, I should say, and pulled up all of our old project files and went, "Shit." So we actually went back and redid about 10 tracks. Yeah. And they all ended up, that's what started this, refresher of getting back into the scene. And 3 of them ended up on Perfecto.
Oh, wow. So Perfecto is Paul Oakenfold's.
Paul Oakenfold's, yeah, which was like, we just shot for he said to me, what labels do you want to go for? Well, let's shoot high. We've been around for long enough, mate. So I just pick a label and we try and make the track to sound like something we think that they would sign.
Yeah.
And we sent those 3 off, and then there was 3 others that I sent. They were quite housey, they weren't tech house, they were quite mixed up. And I went, it sounds like, tidy tracks, untidy dubs. And I went, that sounds like that. And funnily enough, Ammo went bang on. So the next 3 went there, and then...
Tidy's a hard house though, isn't it?
Well, no, they're everything. So untidy, right, is all of their downbeat, more kind of 130, 135, chunky, funky, more alternative. It's not tech house.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mixture of slower hard house with a good techie groove to it.
Yeah.
But really funky.
Yeah.
And good vocals and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, they're blessed Tidy, man. They've carried on flying the flag for that style of music. They still have Tidy weekenders and whatnot.
Yeah,
and,
I see that.
Mate, they work their asses off to keep, because the odd thing is hard house is having another massive revolution.
Are the Tidy boys still around?
Yeah, well, they run it, mate. Yeah, totally. But I mean, that style of music, all the kids, my son come into me and said, Dad, you need to listen to this. And I went, I noticed that mix. There's a guy, I think Marlon Hoffmeyer, or DJ Daddy, right? Now, I had no idea who he was. I listened to this mix from a boiler room session in Melbourne.
Right, yeah.
Every track was 25 years old. And my son's going, this is all new stuff. I went, let me take you to a website. And I opened up this Toolbox Digital, which is the main site go-to for hard house in the world. And I took him into the classics part. And I went, have a listen to that. Don't tell your mates, because he was starting to mix. And I went, you're going to have years of apparently brand new music, mate, which is actually 25 years old. Yeah. And he's like, really? So that's all, So the Tidy guys have kept flying that flag right through, which is quite cool.
So do your kids DJ?
Son does. He started getting right into it. And funnily enough, we're that house that the parents are quite happy for their kids to go, and we did a big reno a few years ago, pre-COVID, and we bought the spot for where it was. It's up in the bush, like we have deer in the backyard. It's quite cool.
Yeah.
I've got a full studio, which is probably about 40, 50. It's got my office in it, and it's triple soundproofed.
Yeah.
And it's got all the toys in it, the things that you bought off Facebook over lockdown, lasers and smoke machines and all that. So we were the house that all of his mates would come in, and there's 3 or 4 of them that have gone out and got really good. The girls, when they have their 16th birthdays, we convert our houses into nightclubs. But apparently I've got one having a 17th that said, I reckon we can do it better. So we're doing it again, apparently.
Do you know what I reckon? I reckon Eamonn is probably in the running for the coolest dad in the world.
I reckon. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about that. Some of my daughters, mate, they have that opposite opinion. My son seems to think it's fairly groovy, but deep down I think they're probably proud. But, I don't try and fly that flag too much. I'm still that wind-up merchant, mate, that goes in and asks the inappropriate questions in front of mates and whatnot.
Yeah.
But no, they have a good time. We're quite blessed where we are. So
Yeah.
So all this is done in Wellington?
Yeah.
Is it outside of Wellington? You said you're a bit rural.
We're in Lower Hutt. Right, we're in Lower Hutt, but up on the hill. So I call it Nine Heights for those of Wellingtonians. They'll be laughing at that because, it's pretty much we live in the hood, but in the bush, in the hood.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a great spot. We found it. My wife has got a real estate company, and she said, I found this house.
Yeah.
And I reckon it might not be where you thought you'd live, but I mean, after living in London, you can't see the rat bags in London. Around Nine you can. And they're an endearing bunch, man. They're good, but it's a safe. It's as safe as it can be. And I've got a miniature schnauzer who thinks he's a pit bull. So, and then a little wowzer mate who thinks he's a sidekick, man, who looks like Bolt the Wonder Dog.
Yeah, brilliant.
So, we're quite lucky where we are.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So where are you at now? So obviously that's a lot of the past. So where are you now and what are you working toward?
So, as I was saying, wife said to me, you love it. Why don't you give it another nudge? So I'm now working with 2 or 3 different... I don't engineer, right? I started off classically. I played the piano, played the trumpet for 8 years. Like, I can't sing. I wasn't a choir, but it was just at boarding school to get out of being at school. Yeah. And now I'm working with 2 or 3 different engineers, all Kiwi-based, making a variation of different styles. Like, I've kind of always made my part in the music industry as championing, not just pigeonholing myself to one style of music. Like within Fevah, I've always been the trancier side of it, but Fevah always had house rooms. House or techno, vocal house, that kind of thing. I was the first Kiwi to play in Ibiza. Like we took tours there for 3 to 5 years.
So you were taking your promotion there or just DJing?
No, we took Fevah there. We did big Fevah tours. We take 500 people, go and stay in San Antonio.
Yeah. Which clubs did you?
Eden.
Oh God, really?
I got to play on Bora Bora for 3 years in a row.
Wow.
Space. Yeah. Played Bora Bora with
So
DJ
you played
G.
all the main clubs. Space.
Yeah. We were lucky. Got to play once there, and then we do the usual. But after getting a taste and learning, that's no better than when you're playing at Bora Bora and you've got saxophone artists.
We're talking about Bora Bora club or Bora Bora the country?
The beach. Bora Bora in Ibiza.
It's a beach club.
Right.
It's a beach club, mate. It's the one that's at the end of the runway where you see everyone like waving to the planes as they come down.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been getting a taste for house music from that. It's pushed me to go and be kind of experimental with all kinds of music. So I'm making, I've done in the last year, 18 months, we've made a lot of techie kind of progressive, deeper trance.
Yep.
And I'm lucky that's an old friend from way back, John 00 Fleming. Owns a label called Juff.
Yep.
And I reached out to him when we came up with a couple of tracks and I said, what do you reckon? He went, oh, yeah, mate. So he was changing a bit of the sound and we seem to have evolved with the way that his sound was going. So we've been lucky to get a couple of tracks on there, like I said, with Perfecto. Yeah. In the last month, I've got, I love summer, mate. I love mixing a bit of house. And so I'd kind of got over, I did lots of dates all over the country, mainly playing prog and trance. And I said, I want to play some house. I said, let's make some house. So I've been working with an Auckland producer, Malcolm Jack, otherwise known as really big hard house producer in the world called Manic, right? Andrew Cullen. So he's got lots of aliases, but under Malcolm Jack, and we've finished 3 tracks. They've all been sent off to a couple of big labels in the UK. Depending when this goes out, we're doing the hot set for George FM tomorrow. We're going to do a half-hour set with it, and the first 3 tracks are on it. We're pretty happy. So I think we've found a bit of a buzz for making some more house. We're going to carry on with that.
So what is your process? Because you said you're not an engineer, right? So what is your process in making a track? Where do you start? What is your input? And then how do you feed back to an engineer?
My thing is being careful to select the engineers that you work with. So one is you got to like the person.
Yeah.
You got to understand it. I mean, I'm fairly kind of ADHD in a way. Well, no, I definitely am ADHD, but and someone that can, my descriptions of what I'm trying to get out of a sound, someone has to understand that. I've tried to work with a couple of engineers and they just don't get what I mean. Yeah. And fair enough, it is what it is. My definition of what kind of sound is can be fairly like, but then I've got 2 mates that go, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. And that's where we get to that. I'm quite good at writing. Like I can get on keyboards and I can write riffs and things like that. Yeah. I'm really good at, like with Andrew this afternoon, we sat doing a Zoom session, me with headphones on, and we just go through samples and lay everything down and go, yep, no, yes, no, do it like that. And so it's hands-on. It's not like any ghostwriting where you sit in there and there's a vocal, can you make me a tune to sound like, Dead Mouse or something like that. Yeah. For every track, you got a specific style and sound. Like when we're doing house, it's me and him making it. Because if he makes one himself, he sounds completely different. When I go and make progressive, like with Craig Lost Knowledge, everything he makes by himself sounds completely different. All of them have got a specific sound that I like quick.
So do you kind of use the same instruments? Like, for example, your kick drum in house sounds similar all the way through?
No, we might vary it. There's certain quick percussion that we'll make, like little percussive hooks and loops. Like, within house, you've got the top end percussion. Everybody dances to a different sound, on a dance floor. So you pick different parts out of a track. And I like to pick those high bits because it's like you can wave your hand or you can do a clap, you can do things like that. Well, exactly. I mean, anyone can sit there stomping to the beat, right? So I very much like really quick rolling hi-hats with little hooks inside them that give them that kind of swing funk to them. And we'll do the same thing in prog as well. So if you hear one of our prog tracks, you'll have that specific rolling that comes with it, whether it's house or not. And I think the next we might have another delve into some techno as well.
Yeah.
So when you sort of are doing, you're not producing music in your sort of day-to-day life, but you hear, are you always thinking of shit that you want to put in your music? So like, for example, you're taking your dog for a walk and all of a sudden an idea comes in your head, or you hear a sound from nature or something, and you think, how do you sort of
vocals are the worst ones for that, right? So I met up with, got introduced to an incredible vocalist, Unity Wada, and she is this awesome human being, Māori lady that lives up in New Plymouth. And I heard her voice at when we were out somewhere, and a friend of mine introduced me, and then I got invited to play at Taniwha's Den, and I was stoked. And when in Rome, like Taniwha, I'm like, I want to make something that's really emotionally attached to the land, because the land's really spiritual to the people, the party. And I asked her, so every time, she did a vocal for me, and she wrote this beautiful waiata, and I wanted a prayer to the people, the party, the land. When we finished that, and now I know a vocalist that I can call, every time I am hearing a track and I'll be thinking of a vocal that we can do in a tune, I'll hear like a trance track with a cool vocal in it. I'll be singing something completely random to their words, and I'll stop my car and I will have to type it out.
Wow.
But the problem is I've got to keep remembering to send what track I was listening to, because otherwise when you get this email with this random bunch of words, so there's a bit of a process. I'm learning doing that, it's like record the track and go, this is why you wanted those words in that vocal. So, for different ideas, that kind of thing. But, I do.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, carry on. It never stops. It's the ADHD, bro. I'll bounce from things. You'll see what I'm talking about. I'll go back to something that I spoke. That's what it is.
It's interesting to see what the how the creative process is for producers and DJs and that sort of thing, because it's very similar to what we do. Behind the camera, in front of the camera, whatever it is. You just get that inspiration, and you've just got to somehow you have to remember it if you haven't got something to put it down.
Oh no, yeah.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
Or you do, and then it's like, okay, how do I put this down without shaking it to death or something? Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah. It's really, really interesting.
It's like, those parties that you come up with ideas, those famous scenes from Human Traffic, when you have those revolutionary conversations that you'll solve all the world's problems. You just don't fucking remember them the next day.
Is that the one they're talking about? They're talking about the subcontractors on the Death Star?
Oh, probably. The chopping session, mate.
Sitting in the kitchen. And you can see their faces, they're just like, so like, sincere. It's like, oh my God, we've done it.
We're going to the wake up. What did we talk about last night? So I used to do that in London all the time, and had mates out the back, and I could dribble absolute gobshite for hours. People go, you need a dictaphone. So the next party, this mate of mine bought me a dictaphone. But then another dude thought I was some undercover cop. Sitting there going, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? You're recording this conversation. I went, oh, yeah, okay, sorry, probably not a good idea. So,
better off to hide it down here.
That really make it look like a little microphone.
So you must have done some pretty weird and wonderful parties. I read in your biography that you even played a royal wedding. What the fuck?
Oh, yeah. I think I'm allowed to talk about this now because they're divorced, like all good royal couples end up, apparently, or did. Buddy of mine. So we used to have this get together with all the boys in London on a Friday night. One of the boys called it men's club, as you do. That is, got an idea of a name we could think of. And a friend of mine who was a big surfer and used to travel around the world, and he came up and I'd met his missus. And at one party, he just said to me, I love your parties, because Deanie comes from a specific family that, because we didn't allow cameras at any of our events. Because back in the day, you weren't. Anything that Richard Branson did or Astoria and all that was a no camera policy.
Right. Yeah. Holy shit. How would you have dealt in this era where everyone has a phone? Everyone's like going like this.
Thank God we didn't, because But he introduced me, and so it was Deanie. I went, how you going? And he said, well, what does she do? And she said, well, and then zoom forward about 3 years, the running joke at their wedding was a well-placed bomb. Be a Māori boy is the King of England, right? Now, she was 16th in line for the throne, and they met surfing in Bali, and came back to the UK, and she used to come out all the time and whatnot. Awesome. Mate, when I got invited to at this Friday night gig that we used to do, I just said to him randomly, if you ever get married, mate, I'd love to play at your wedding. Just a throwaway. 2 years later, Eamonn, get married. We going to play at the wedding? Yeah. Where is it? KP. What's KP? Kensington Palace. No shit. All right. What do I need to do? And he's like, come for tea with the oldies.
The oldies?
Really? Yeah.
And who are they?
Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. Right, so they live in Kensington Palace.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, went home, told the wife, am I invited? I don't know. I'm just going for tea. And I said to Gary, I said, what do I wear? Hey, it's summer, mate. We're having a barbecue. Just turn up. So I rolled in as any Kiwi boy does, mate, wearing boardies, wearing a singlet and jandals to the armed guards at the front of Kensington Palace. And they're looking at me going, where you go, mate? No, I'm here for tea. And they're like, where you go, mate? Call the Duke. And they're like,
Call the Duke.
and they're like, what? And I said, seriously, I'm here for tea. I've been invited for a barbecue. And they're like, really? And then one dude went, all right, I'm just going to call in. And he came back, way you go. So I rocked in and sat down.
Did he go, he's a Kiwi? He went, oh.
Oh, no. But it was hilarious, man. So I rolled in and like looking around going, holy shit, here we go. And I mean, they were sound as a pound, you know. At the end of the day, they're just people. They've got titles and whatnot. But and the cool thing, I said, so what do you need? And we went out to the private gardens of Kensington Palace. That's where the wedding was going to be.
Yep.
And he said, I want you to do everything. So I had to help organise everything from the dance floor, the sound, the lighting.
Yeah.
They put 40 grand's worth of lighting through the gardens.
Shit.
And my mate got
But they're still just like you and me.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Just have a palace.
Yeah.
And
Palace guards,
And-
butlers.
they put a grand piano out in the garden as well because Gary's boy, younger son, he was a pianist.
Yeah.
And he's a Māori boy from a shearing family in Gisborne. That is the,
Shit.
chalk and cheese kind of backgrounds.
Yeah.
And it was the most eclectic wedding I've ever been to. You know, you got, I had played, everything was vinyl back then. There was we didn't put digital stuff out there. So you got all the young royals coming up, these going, have you got this? You know, like, I don't know, you name it, Jamiroquai or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you got all the other fellas going, got any herbs, bro? You know, and I'm like, nah. And then I just put my record bag up and went, you hum it, I'll play it. So they put it up and
So what kind of stuff did you play? Just everything?
I didn't have any herbs, dude. Not that kind anyway. And then we basically, I just let them pull records out and we just played.
Oh, okay.
And then carried on and then we had a bit of a break and I'm standing at the bar with Deanie's dad man and we hear this noise and it's like tick, tick, tick. He's like, bloody Liz, what? And next thing the sprinklers come up out of the ground. Right?
Yeah.
And well, next thing me and the Duke are running around with pint glasses, putting them over the top of all the sprinkler heads so we could carry on partying.
Yeah.
And then the armed police came in and said, no, it's time to shut down. It was about 1 a.m.
Wow.
And the next part of that night is there was pretty much anyone who wanted to. I was playing at a big underground in an abandoned Ford assembly plant, right? Up the M4,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And about 8 black cabs pulled up at Kensington Palace. Anyone who wanted to come hopped in, and there's all these young royals going, shit, everyone's dressed up, right? We're like, what do we do? And we went, nobody knows who you are here. And we rolled in, we pulled up out the front on the M4 and there's 2 cops. We're like, oh shit, they're going to shut it down. And we walked up and I said, you're not shutting it down. They saw I was a DJ and I went, no, mate, we're making sure no one walks across the motorway. There's too many people in there for us to shut it down.
So how many people?
About 3,000.
Far out. That's a proper warehouse bike.
We took all these young, everyone who'd been at the wedding, pretty much who wanted to go.
Yeah.
And then it was like something out of a movie because random flashes through your nights, you'd see one of the young, aristocratic family kids, mate, hanging out with all these young Aussies and Kiwis who had no idea or no care.
No.
So it was a pretty cool scenario.
So what I want to know is,
did
any of them get on it?
Well, I don't know what happened behind closed doors, mate. I don't know, defend or deny, mate. I mean, we've all seen the reports. I remember when I was living in London, mate, the amount of trace elements of coke and all that were found on the boglids of Downing Street and Kensington Palace, and Buckingham Palace for that, So, but I'm not going to drop anyone in that fast. I've dropped enough already as it is.
How old were you say young royals, what was the age group?
20, around 18 to 25, I suppose.
Yeah.
So,
Fuck, that's awesome.
Oh, it was hilarious, mate.
Yeah.
You know, it was one of those opportunities. Wife wasn't allowed to go. She was gutted. It was just, my mate said to me, what do you want? And he said, can Hannah come? No, unfortunately not. So I'm the hired help, am I? Yeah. And I said, what do you need? And I just said, as long as I get one of those plaques on Her Royal Majesty's request. So I got one of those.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Okay,
which is quite cool.
Yeah.
And a couple £100. And he said at the end, you could have charged the old boy 20 grand. I went, mate, this is a story I'll be telling for years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was gold. It's quite funny.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're not together anymore, which is a bit gutting.
Oh.
No.
So, but it happens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course. Of course. Of
Fuck, how do you
course.
top that story?
I don't know.
Jesus.
I don't know.
That's fucking rad.
I don't know. When I get on a roll, I can spit them out like,
I can tell. Well, so Vegas.
Yeah. Oh, God, that was just that.
That's what I have to say.
So we talked Vegas.
Okay.
Vegas.
Well, that's a story that randomly. So that's the Vegas story starts when I went to the Miami Winter Music Conference.
Yep.
With the guy that was managing me. And we went over to meet all these people, and I met these random young rich kids, mate. And this one dude's dad was in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And he said, when you come to LA, mate, look me up. And I'm like, all right. So I got booked to play. I played at the Luxor Hotel. So
Nice.
I got booked in, and that was a hilarious trip. Just flew into Vegas, and it is what you think, mate. Everything is balls and all, mate. Trying on. Had a limo, had a PA, had everything turn up, mate. Got introduced, my first definition of a prick of a DJ, actually. So I'd flown all the way from London, and it was this American dude whose agent was going, he has to play then. And I'm like, I don't care, man. Just don't fuck it up, right? It was only 2 of us playing the whole night.
Oh, right, okay.
So it was 6 hours. So I'm like, I'll play last. I don't care.
Is this a vinyl set as well?
Yeah, it's all vinyl, man. And we rolled in, and I had no idea what to expect. And all I remember was I was with this English bird who was my PA.
Yeah.
And we're standing out having a drink at the bar before, because the club's inside the Luxor. It's a club called Ra, right? And we're watching this steady stream of people leaving, and I'm like, oh, what's going on here? So I went in to investigate, and this dude's playing the worst German trance you've ever heard. Right? It was terrible, and it was only like 11 o'clock at night. So I'd never done this again, and people might think you're a prick for doing it. I rolled in, I had 2 record bags, because I was on a long tour, I had about 10 dates. So I took 2 record bags in with me, and I chucked my record bags up on the things, and I went, dude, can I ask you a favour? And I pulled 20 records out. Start there and finish there. And he's like, what? Trust me. And he played my music out of 1 record bag, and we filled the club again.
Oh, cool.
Right. Well, it was just like, sounds a bit odd, but seriously, I would have had no one to play to.
Yeah.
Like, they would have all left the building. And then I played, and mate, it was the most bizarre thing, mate. There was people on, what do you call them, trapeze artists, flying around. A guy came out of the ceiling from nowhere on a bungee and pulled someone up out of the crowd.
Whoa.
You know, there's all these kind of pretty much looked like strippers hanging upside down on these suspended gates. It was awesome.
Wow.
And then at the end of it, there's all these young guys, saying, what the hell was that? They'd never heard a full set of banging hard trance or trance from the UK.
Yeah.
And so we finished there, and I can't really say much about what happened next, because it got pretty messy. It was an interesting one, but I'd been up all weekend, and then I got dropped off at the airport in the Crazy Horse strip club limousine. Let's just say that's where it ended up. It was quite funny. A mate said, you've got to visit that place, man. And I'm like, I ended up meeting the owner of the place at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we just ended up having a drink. It was funny. And he said, where are you going next? I've got to play in LA tonight. Oh, shit. And he sent me in his limo, flew into LA, and in the first 2 hours, I'm there, and my mate that picked me up was this young American rich, kid whose dad was in the Baseball Hall of Fame. So I've got to go and pick my friend up. And he went to go to the Sky Bar. Now, I don't know have you heard of the Sky Bar, but the Sky Bar's in the Hollywood Hills, and it's where everybody who's anyone goes. And we walk in, there's Britney Spears, there's Madonna and whatnot, and then he comes up to me and says, oh, this is my mate. He goes, oh, it's Steve. Oh, how you going, Steve? How you going? Good. What do you do? Oh, I've got a bit of a TV show. And it was Steve-O.
Oh, shit.
So let's just say I spent the next 3 days with Steve-O.
Fucking
right?
hell.
Say no more.
He didn't get you to do anything stupid.
Mate, no, but I got booked to play like this. It all got laid on, mate. And then the next 48 hours, I had my own Russian stalker. Right, this dude, I'd taken all these promo CDs and I got given a T-shirt by the promoter. And when we turned up at the after party, this Russian dude was wearing my T-shirt he nicked out of my bag.
Right.
And he was tipping water over his head on the stage going, Eamonn Fevah, I love you. And I'm like, okay. And then the security guards came out and battered him with water bottles and whatnot. Get off the stage. And turns out he'd nicked all of the CDs as well.
Yeah.
But then when we got back, looked like when we got picked up from my mate's place to go to the party, he was having a housewarming party. He said, we're going to stay here. That was Steve-O and that. And then they picked up, it was like something out of that program 24, four Escalades pulled up out the front. They're all going, the hell do you know? And it was like something like out of the CIA turning up. Dropped off out the front of this nightclub and all the security are going, holy cow. That was the entrance, played the set, got back. And as I walked back into my mate's house, we had to lock this poor girl in a bathroom. Steve-O was crawling around on his hands and knees, barking like a dog, right, chasing around the house, and it was like, oh, this is a bit odd. All right, I think you're going to be safer locked in a toilet. But that was an interesting tour.
Jeez,
no, there's some funny trips. We had some good trips to Thailand.
Yeah.
We used to do
a full moon party.
Yeah, we went over there for 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And they were fun times, man.
Is that Koh Phangan?
Yeah, we stayed there. We did Koh Samui. Yeah. In Koh Samui, I had to get, there's a hatch in the stage. The armed police, the owner of the club hadn't paid the local police off.
Right.
And they were coming in. All of a sudden, the resident DJ opened a little trapdoor under the DJ box and said, you must go out.
Oh, jeez.
And I had to escape out the back because they were coming in to arrest me for illegally apparently getting paid. And I wasn't getting paid anything, I was getting beer money.
Oh, is that, so you're not supposed to be, was that like a visa thing?
Well, not then. Yeah, you weren't supposed to get paid anything. Well, I mean, who knows what it was because of, but he obviously hadn't paid him.
Yeah.
But then we went over to Koh Phangan. And we used to do 9-hour sets on the beach to about 15,000 people.
That's amazing.
They were cool.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's changed a lot out there.
It's really commercial, isn't it?
Yeah. And they're all up. They know how to milk money out of you now. It's like there's silly kids doing dumb things, man. And all you knew back then was just make sure you had about a couple of $1,000 baht in your pocket.
When was that? What year was that?
98, 99.
Is that when the beach came out? Because the beach was.
I was there after because we did, and I remember them talking about when you come out of the beach, come out of the water glowing.
Yeah.
And you could surf on Hadron Beach, which it's normally dead flat.
Yeah.
And there was electrical storms out to ocean, and there was you lie in the water. There could have been some mushrooms involved, but hey, you're lying in the water. Mushroom omelets are their specialty over there, and you're watching the waves coming in, and it looks like pixie dust on the front of them, and it's charged. Phosphorescence and plankton.
Oh, yes.
And I remember standing up and you glow. You look like,
that's cool.
Tinkerbells had to go at you.
Yeah.
No, very cool.
Yeah, man. You certainly got some stories.
Oh, no, mate.
I mean, bloody hell.
I'm still thinking about those 5 poor German guys that left Luxor going, the music was so much better. I liked it.
So, no. And I mean, now onwards and upwards, man. We're doing... we've got lots happening in New Zealand now, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
I'm part of the LHHR group with Janelle and Steve Hill.
Yeah.
What's LHHR?
London Hard House Reunion. So it was a party of Janelle, good friend of mine. She was always front and centre at a lot of events, namely one Solid Sunday back in the day in London.
Yep.
And she came home and just missed it so much and wanted to create it. And we'd actually started Fevah FM in Hamilton with a friend, Mandy Seuss. And she introduced, I've got some friends that they've got the money, they want to do it, they're determined. And I'm like, you're mad. Because when she told me what she wanted to do, bringing in multiple big international artists.
Yeah.
And I said at the time, I had 3 kids under 4. I'm like, I'll introduce you to Steve Hill. He's what he does. I'll help where I can. And the second room I'll do a Fevah room as a second room.
Yeah.
And 10 years on, I think it might be the 11th year this year. It's going strong, and that's coming up in September 21st.
So that's at studio, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you always sell out well.
Sells out. Yeah. It's building nicely.
Studio up here in K Road.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, it's great, mate.
It's good, great location.
Well, it's the kind of it seems to be the most best fit for what we do.
Yeah.
You know,
I love that second room in studio. I think it's a really good
it's a great
second
vibe
room,
in there. That's where we have the Fevah room, and now I've kind of got my way. I've talked Janelle into allowing us to go. We've all got older. We all want to slow down. We don't want hard beats all night. So we have that. That's house, techno, prog, up into a bit of trance and a little bit harder right at the end.
So the main room is what? It is all hard house.
It's a mixture of hard house and trance, banging trance.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a good opportunity where everyone breaks out their Zimmer frames, gets the babysitters in. You know, we all go out, rent nice hotels, and pretend to be 22
Get
again.
babysitters.
No, it's a good. Everyone gets together again, and I've just come back from a similar one called Rewind over in Brisbane, and it was the same kind of thing. The vibe at them are awesome, mate, because there's something that we made connections over those years in London that you'll never forget, and you'll never, it's what got us all into music.
Do you bring internationals over for that?
Yeah. We normally have anywhere from 4 to 6 internationals.
Yeah.
This year there's, I've got me on the spot. There's Lab 4, James Lawson. Right. Oh God! If Janelle will shoot me. I'm sorry. I forgot. I can spout about everything else.
Yeah, they can find it.
Yeah, they can have a look on the website. You know, Audio Addiction on Facebook, and look for London Hard House Reunion. That's up there.
Fucking sick.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I've got a few other gigs up and down the country. Doing one in Wellington with a good friend of mine, Ashwin. He's one of these promoters. Yeah, you would have met him.
Well, he booked me for his next gig here.
Right, he's awesome. So I played at the first one of those, man. It was great. Cassette 9.
Yeah,
fantastic club. Yeah. If you're playing in the house room?
I'm playing in the techno room.
Oh, that's awesome. That one. And we've got a couple of events for him. There's one in Christchurch in July and one in Wellington. Watch out for those. I mean, if you want to see where I'm on those, it's on my Facebook stuff, so all good.
I do like how the age group has expanded so much. Like it used to be back in the day, it was 20 to 30. And now as everyone gets older, the young still stay and the old gets older. And now it's like anything from 18 to 60s now. Like you go something like Paul Oakenfeld or whatever.
Oh,
that was amazing, that gig. Because we were up on stage and you're looking down at the crowd and you've got like, honestly, all age groups. And the ones who look like they're having the best time are the, over 45.
Yeah.
Because they probably have some extra things helping them out.
Well, the gold thing was I came back, I took family to Vietnam last year for a month. While I was away, my son turned 18. So we got back. The first gig that him and his mates were legal to come to, I was playing with Steve Hill and one of Ashwin's events down in Wellington. And I said to Rhodes, put the word out, mate. Do you want to come? It's your first event that you're actually all legal to come to. 80 of them came. And it wasn't a huge club.
Wow.
And it was the funniest thing. And all the oldies, all the old crew, were like, who are all these? That's my son's mates. And they loved it.
I bet Ash was pleased.
Oh, yeah. He was stoked, mate. He was stoked. But everyone assimilated and nobody cared, man, you know? Yeah. I've got old girlfriends that are in their 40s, man, that, they're always front and centre. They're the dancers, mate. They'll go and hibernate and they'll need to hop into ice baths for a month afterwards, but they'll be front and centre with the boys, mate, with the girls and the young ones, man, 18 to... It's music. Yeah. I think transcends ages, man. You know?
It totally does. Definitely.
Yeah.
So what does the future hold for Eamonn Fevah? I mean, like, have you sort of like put a date on when you might sort of start slowing down, or like?
Well, no,
it sounds like it's a long time.
Well, I just got given the green card to go ramp it up. Although, funnily enough, about 2 months after that, my wife's like, "Why did I do that?" Because I've always taken the bull by the
second
horns.
wind.
Well, that's I always take the bull by the horns. If you give me a green light, mate, I'll go. But I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun at the moment. I keep coming up with ideas as soon as it becomes boring and painful. Although on the way here, I did almost slip down my mate's driveway. I went, would have looked like an elderly moment then. If I can't stand to max, I'll sit in a wheelchair. I've done that before in a club in London, But that's a story for another day. But no, I can't see myself slowing down at the moment. Music keeps changing and evolving, and as long as it keeps doing that, they keep creating new software and fun ways to make it and get different sounds, and as long as I've got ears that work.
Well, actually, just on that, before we go, is that how have you made provisions to protect your hearing over the years? Because obviously you've been DJing for a long, long time.
So through my day job, I do trade shows all the time, and at those trade shows, I've always got hearing specialists. So I get my ears checked twice a year to make sure and keep it monitored. Now, about 4 years ago, I noticed they said they explained to me, ears are very genetic.
Yeah.
So you and me could stand, or, in the same DJ box for 5 years, you'll be stone deaf and there won't be anything wrong with me. So the lady said, you're lucky.
Yep.
One ear is slightly lower than the other.
Yeah.
Apparently my
Is that your monitoring ear or not?
Yeah. No, because I use both.
Yeah.
But I went and got earplugs made.
Yeah.
And I've just had to get myself randomly. They say genetics, but my wife must have faulty genetics. My son aren't as good as that. I love that. Say that. Love you, darling. But he had to get them made. And you can choose. The cool thing now is they can choose how many decibels you want them reduced by.
Oh wow!
So you can do 5, 10, 15%. And they put
the plugs.
They put the string in your ears and they fill it with goo. And depending on what the goo they can mold, they make the molds to how much, what environment are you in? If you're in, because I've been dropped before by a speaker feeding back into a microphone, like literally equilibrium ground. Wasn't flash.
Shit.
And it's pain. I've burst an eardrum with an earbud before. Don't use earbuds.
No.
We poke things in, so it's like looking after them is.
So do you wear these earplugs to DJ?
No.
Just
Only
to when you
every
go.
now and then I'll go and put them in if I'm kind of lucky because I keep checking them.
Yeah.
If I know I'm going, I've worn them at a couple of concerts.
Yeah.
Depending what I'm going to.
Yeah.
I've tried to wear them mixing. It takes a little bit more to get used to doing that.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to have to force myself to do it because. I'm not getting any younger.
I bought these earplugs about a year ago. Oh, no, it was about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And I spent about $100 on them. They just slip in your ear and they just take the edge off it.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll just do it for when I'm sort of in a club or something. But I tried DJing in a club with them and I didn't notice the difference. I didn't even notice.
Oh, really?
I forgot I had them in.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, sweet. Because I was going to take them out before I played.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh shit, I left them in. And I was like, fuck, I didn't hardly notice the difference. But the day after, when you're sort of in an environment like your ears ring a bit.
Yeah.
They weren't ringing at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they make such a difference. Now I wear them all the time.
I'm kind of lucky on that one. My son, bless him, he ended up getting tinnitus. Well, he's had it since he was quite young, but just didn't know what it was. And this year he went to R&V.
Yeah.
And the day after, he's calling me at like 1 a.m, Dad, the ringing. And I'm like, so when he went down to uni, we sent him into an audiologist.
Yeah.
And got it sorted because you need to make sure that you look after.
Yeah.
You've only got 2.
Yeah. Well, no, exactly.
Yeah.
And like, I use mine for my day job as well. Like if I fuck my hearing, then I'm not going to bring any money in. So
true. Yeah.
No, you got to look after it. I got my hearing tested and I was fucking amazed to realise that it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Because I got tinnitus in this side.
Right.
It's just certain frequencies I can't hear.
Yep.
And it's painful when certain sounds get really loud, like actual painful.
Yeah.
So when fire trucks go past, I do this.
Yep.
Just because it's a little bit too much. But I was amazed to find out that my hearing was almost fine. Apart from a couple of...
Yeah, it was literally like one of mine.
Yeah.
do you find your ears ring after a night out or anything like that?
Not as much as they used to.
Yeah.
No.
Well, they used to ring a lot, but I think maybe it's more because I look after them now. Like I do this, or I won't stand next to speakers. Or another thing is, I think the sound systems are getting better.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
you're not as top endy.
Yeah,
It's that.
I get the rings. I get the rings after a band. Band sound systems give rings. But DJs not so much. Like when we were filming at studio, I didn't even know. I was right next to the speaker and it was full noise. And I thought, I'm fucked. Tomorrow I'm going to be naked.
Well, I know a lot of the ones, the club ones that we used to use, the underground ones, what they'd have is they'd have all these rocket systems with all the top end and mids above you and sub below you. But of course, everything was pointing and screaming at you. So it's the first point is there. Yeah.
I went to see, a couple of years back, I went to see the Killers at Spark. And it was it was great, don't get me wrong, it was a really good concert. But it was so loud, like it was before I bought these earplugs, and like the next day I was actually concerned that my ears were gonna because it was so loud. I was like, but you really do notice as you get older, like the more sensitive, you think it would be desensitized for all the loud music that you keep subjecting yourself to, but like that's what made me buy the earplugs, to be fair. But
the last time I thought to myself, this is not a good idea, it was watching Oppenheimer in IMAX.
Oh really?
IMAX for some reason they just crank it to 11 so loud, and it's like it does not need to be this loud. I go to the best theaters to hear the best sound because I love it, you know what I mean? But that was just...
Did you get the 4D with a little dude spitting at you? We know.
the 4D with the actual atomic bomb came through the screen. No, not this time.
The thing with Nolan though, he sort of, the way he does his sound mix, he sort of blends the voice into the sound design. You can't hear it even. It doesn't matter how loud it is, you still can't make out what's going on.
It's always Tom Hardy. He's like, that's what everyone sounds like. So who else is out there that we should be watching out for in the New Zealand electronic music?
Well, I mean, personally, who I've been working with, I've been like one of the hot sets that I was doing that I've started to do, but it was more on the progressive side, is the guys from 1979, who a lot of people might not realise is a live act called High Dosage, and Hard and Fast with Terry Blunt and Ryan Tregurtha, and it's him and his wife, and they're making some really deep, sultry, deep house, and it's really beautiful. And I mean, I'm actually playing some of their stuff on my hot set tomorrow. There's Dilby, and I don't know, for all the listeners that don't know who Dilby is, he needs to get a lot of credit because it's a Kiwi guy who went on his OE, and they were supposed to head to a snowboarding holiday. His wife said after 2 weeks before the trip, I don't want to go snowboarding. Where do you want to go then? Well, let's go somewhere different. She went, how about Berlin? So they randomly moved to Berlin, and now he's taught himself to sound engineer, and he is mastering, one of the go-to mastering specialists for some of the biggest tech house DJs in the world, and he's a Kiwi lad.
Oh, wow.
Right? Then you've got Donna Marie, right, who is, I was in the UK with, Donna Britt when she's playing harder stuff. She's making some really good, she's had a lot of releases on Perfecto and multiple Perfecto Black. And Ali J, who is one of my partners in crime at LHHR. She's doing a golden job making some really beautiful, progressive and uplifting trance. But they're all ones to watch. I mean, they're all live on the net and on Beatport, so have a look. And if you want any of my up-and-coming stuff, that's all on Beatport and all the good streaming sites.
Sweet as.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Champion.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I don't know what people are talking about when they say you're ADHD. But thank you so much for coming in, and good luck for everything else.
Sweet.
And we'll be keeping an eye out, and we will be joining you on some of your gigs, no doubt.
Lovely.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, mate.
Sweet.